we have to start with the New York Jets. This is going to be my last time on, Tony. We got to start with the New York Jets. So let's start right there. ESPN published an article stating that basically the Jets want to find a overall coach, a team coach, not somebody that specializes necessarily in offense or defense or special teams, but somebody that I'm assuming can build a culture for the New York Jets, which sounds great on the surface. But let me ask you, how do you feel about that, Tony?
A CEO of a coach, as it's been broadcast. And listen, this goes back to what I said about 3-4 weeks ago on this podcast when I broke the news, or I reported that the Jets were basically looking for an alpha dog type of coach, sort of a strong disciplinarian to oversee everything. They want that strong personality, that alpha dog coach, to basically run the whole show on the field. Not so much the offensive specialist to either help develop a new quarterback they may draft or helpfully salvage Sam Darnold. Not a defensive coordinator, but really that alpha dog type of guy that will put other people in charge and run the show himself. Goes hand in hand what we reported on this podcast just about 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah, you were certainly ahead of the curve there. Obviously, everyone wants to know, the rumor mill is churning about what potential head coaching candidates could be in the mix here. Don Martindale has certainly been somebody that you've mentioned in the past, but tell me a little bit more about Matt Campbell from Iowa State, and could he potentially be in the mix for this New York Jets position?
Matt Campbell is a name that always crops up. It cropped up last time when the Jets had a head coaching opening. He's talked about a lot. I got to say, from what I'm hearing, I think it's less than 5%, even maybe less than 1%, that Matt Campbell is the next head coach of the New York Jets for a couple of reasons. I mean, Matt Campbell turned down an interview with the Jets last time they had a head coaching opening, although that was Mike McCagnon and Joe Douglas is in charge. And I really think that, number one, Matt Campbell's only going to leave Iowa State for the NFL if the situation is perfect. And I don't see the New York Jets as being a perfect situation for him for a variety of reasons. I also think that he doesn't fit that alpha dog CEO type of coach, the guy who's going to oversee everything and let people run the offense and defense under him what they want. The other thing is I think Matt Campbell likes the college coaching game. He's not going to move on to the NFL unless it's absolutely perfect. Personally, I think he should have gotten that Texas job, although I don't know that he would have even taken the job if it was offered to him, because he would not have wanted to coach against his former team, guys that he recruited at Iowa State. Reading the tea leaves, and this is just speculation on my behalf, I think that Matt Campbell, who is known as a good guy, a lot of people like him, I think he feels he's got unfinished business at Iowa State.
Oh, it makes a lot of sense. He's built a really strong program there, and it makes sense that he'd want to return and have the opportunity to kind of see that through. When I think of potential, CEO, head coach type personalities, I'm interested in your thoughts on Don Martindale, if that still kind of fits the mold. I think of a guy like Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern who can, kind of hang that hat. I know he's kind of a defensive guy, but he's obviously built a very strong program at Northwestern. But what are some potential names that kind of fit that mold as Jets fans are starting to think about this?
Well, I think it's those two. And I think Martindale, we've talked about him a lot on this program. People speak highly of him. They think, he's a guy that the players not only respect, but the players like, and he's a disciplinarian. He's been in the league for a while. I think Pat Fitzgerald fits that mold. The only thing with Pat Fitzgerald is, he's basically starting from the ground on the NFL level. And he's going to have to recruit it, bring in offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators to run the show for him. I just don't know that that's the way the Jets want to go at this point in time. They could, but I tend to shy away from that.
All right. Any other word on the Jets before we move to the Texans?
They're going to probably interview everybody and anybody under the rock until they finally make a decision.
Do you get the feeling, I know some years it almost feels like an arms race where everyone's trying to get their guy right away before that guy gets hired, or, in other years it's more like, what, we're just going to take our time. We're going to interview 12 to 16 guys and we're going to make sure that we get this right. It seems obviously based on what you're saying that the Jets want to move more in that second direction and get it right rather than rush to try to get somebody. But usually it almost seems like there's been a hire by now where somebody's rushing to get the hot name out there.
I think there's a couple of forces as far as that's concerned. You do have some quality candidates out there. I think the league wants it done a certain way. The Jets basically rushed with Todd Bowles. They signed him right away. Adam Gase wasn't so much a rush job as it was desperation because they lost out on Matt Rule and they kicked the tires on Mike McCartney. And the Jets have even in the past have even used these search organizations. That's how they got John Idzik, which blew up in their face, or that's how they came to hire John Idzik, although Idzik was not at the top of the search organization's list of GM candidates. So, it makes sense. And Joe Douglas, I'm sure, will use all his contacts in the league to interview these guys and basically parcel down. I think the interesting thing with the Jets is what kind of input do the owners have? I'm sure Jet fans are saying hopefully little to none, but that remains to be seen.